Ye anila premadana karuna pracho Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur
Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Kahamara Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatan Kada Saragunata Patita Pavan Kahamara Bhata Yuga Kaha Kaviraj Eka kale kota gela goranatara Eka kale kota gela goranatara Ashane kathiba mata Annale Pashiva Asane Kutivo Mata Annale Pashivo Gauranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gele Pabo Se sabha sangira sange ekolo vilas Se sangana paya Khande Narathamadas Se sangana paya Khande Narathamadas Ye anila premadana Karuna pracho Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Okay, read the translation. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who is filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivas Acharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against a rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. Alright, so it is the disappearance of Mahesh. Is it Pandit? Mahesh Pandit. So Mahesh Pandit. So we'll read a little bit about him. Okay, 150. 150. All right, so this is very short about Sri Mahesh Pandit. Sri Mahesh Pandit, the seventh of the 12 Gopals, tasting Krishna Prem, used to dance like a madman to the sound of a huge kettle drum. Especially dear to Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he traveled and preached with the Lord. He established deities of Nitai Gauranga, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Govinda, Gopinath. In Vrajalila, he serves Krishna Balaram as the cowherd boy, Mahu Bahu. Oh yeah, it doesn't have the diacritics here. Maha Bahu? Okay. Yeah, some of these, I mean, I don't know if there's any diacritics in this book, but...
Oh, that Samadhi book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to have the diacritics, right? Alright, so now we'll read about Sri Udarna Dutt Thakur. It's a little more about him. Udaran Dutt Thakur, a Dwadasa Gopal, lived in Shaptagram, a cluster of 7 villages: Krishnapur, Nityanandapur, Vasudevpur, Shivapur, Basnabedia, Sahanagar, Saptagram. Raised in luxury within a family of gold merchants, he later married and worked as a wealthy state minister. The place where he once held office is today called Udarnapur in his honor. Sri Nityananda would often stay in his home and accept food from his hand. So you can see he's a special devotee, right? Performing Prem Nam Sankirtan in Shaptagram, Lord Nityananda delivered the entire community of bankers and gold merchants. You can imagine the big kirtan they're having, huh? Udarna Dutt said that Shaptagram is such a holy place that simply by seeing it, one is freed from all sins. When he was 26 years old, his wife suddenly died. He left everything to associate with Sri Nityananda Prabhu and preached the glories of Krishna's holy names. He personally installed and worshipped deities of Shadbhuj Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Gadadhar Pandit. He serves Lord Balaram as Subhahu Sakha and Vrajalila. His samadhi is in the 64 samadhis area. Interesting, it has some more about him. I don't know, I guess they put that in the wrong spot. But so this is more about Udarna Dutt Thakur. There's some more. After glorifying Udarna Dutt Thakur as an exalted devotee of Lord Nityananda who worshipped him in all ways, Krishnadas Kaviraj praises all of Sri Nityananda Prabhu's devotees. No one can count the limited followers of Nityananda Prabhu. I have mentioned some of them simply for my own purification. As branches of Lord Nityananda's tree, these eternal associates are full of the ripened fruits of Krishna Prem. They gave these fruits to everyone, flooding them with pure love of God. These devotees have unlimited strength to give eternal, unalloyed love of Krishna. They can offer anyone Krishna Prem. All right, Jai. All right, so read the Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 8, Dhruva Maharaj leaves home. We're on text 70. Maitreya Vacha Iti Darbishina Proktam Vishrutya Jagati Patihi Raja Lakshmim Nadritya Putram Eva Nuvintayat. I guess everybody fell off at that point, huh? 4, 8, 70. Everybody fell off at that point, huh? Had other thoughts? All right, so, okay, so just ready? Maitreya Vacha Iti Darvarshina Proktam Vishrutya Jagati Patihi Raja Lakshmi Manadritya Putram Evan Vachintayat. Please chant.
Maitreya Vacha Iti Devarshina Proktam Vishrutya Jagati Patihi Raja Lakshmi Manadritya Putramevan Vachintayat Iti Devarshina Proktam Vishrutya Jagati Patihi Raja Lakshmi Manadritya Putramevan Vachintayat. Maitreya Vacha Iti Devarshina Proktam Vishrutya Jagati Patihi Raja Lakshmi Manadritya Putram Evan Vachintayat. Maitreya Vacha Iti Devarshina Proktam Vishrutya Jagati Patihi Raja Lakshmi Manadritya Putramevan Vachintayat. Okay, hold on.
Okay, word by word translation. Maitreya Vacha. The great sage Maitreya said. Iti. Thus. Devarshina. By the great sage Narada. Proktam. Spoken. Vishrutya. Hearing. Jagati Patihi. The king. Raja Lakshmim. The opulence of his big kingdom. Anadritya. Without taking care of. Putra. His son. Eva. Certainly. Anvichintayat. Began to think of him. Translation. The great Maitreya continued. The king Uttanapada, after being advised by Narada Muni, practically gave up all duties in relation with his kingdom, which was very vast and wide, opulent like the goddess of fortune, and he simply began to think of his son Dhruva. So I'll just read one more. Elsewhere, Dhruva Maharaj, having arrived at Madhuvan, took his bath in the Yamuna and observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. After that, as advised by the great sage Narada, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. The significance of this particular verse is that Dhruva Maharaj acted exactly according to the advice of his spiritual master, the great sage Narada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also advises that if we want to be successful in our attempt to go back to Godhead, we must very seriously act according to the instruction of the spiritual master. That is the way of perfection. There need be no anxiety over attaining perfection, because if one follows the instruction given by the spiritual master, he is sure to attain perfection. Our only concern should be how to execute the order of the spiritual master. A spiritual master is expert in giving special instructions to each of his disciples, and if the disciple executes the order of the spiritual master, that is the way of his perfection. Om Jnana Tipadandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Akam Kadadavachalam Pangam Langai Teganim Ya Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Diditaranam Vancha Kaptribasha Kripa Sandabhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Ramanamaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right, so just read the two verses again. The great Maitreya continued, the king Uttanapada, after being advised by Narada Muni, practically gave up all duties in relation with his kingdom, which was very vast and wide, opulent like the goddess of fortune, and he simply began to think of his son Dhruva. Elsewhere, Dhruva Maharaj, having arrived at Madhuvan, took his bath in the river Yamuna and observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. After that, as advised by the great sage Narada, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by pleasing the spiritual master, we please Krishna, and without pleasing the spiritual master, as the song goes, we make no advancement. So you could say that may present some issues, for, I don't know, but what do you say now, postmodern times? I heard that that's the correct term rather than modern times. Why postmodern?
It's even beyond what was known as modern.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, there's a whole thing about it which I can get.
Okay, postmodern. So in postmodern times, it a lot of the times presents an issue for people. This idea that one, by pleasing, in the spiritual sense, obviously, by serving, by inquiring, by becoming a servant of another human who happens to be a guru, one pleases God, one pleases Krishna. And that creates a problem because people do not know what a guru is. And actually it takes, just like to understand Krishna, right? When you walk into the door of the temple, the front doors of the temple, you're not going to understand who Krishna is. And you may not even understand who Krishna is after months or years or decades, or even lifetimes you may not understand who Krishna is. So similarly, people have a hard time actually understanding what is a guru. Although Srila Prabhupada clearly explains it in his books, somehow it doesn't register. And therefore they're very quick to reject their own guru that they accepted after some time because of some apparent fault, some apparent problem that they see within the guru, within their guru. So they're very quick to reject. Srila Prabhupada, I mean, he talked about all types of far out things that from a material sense doesn't make any sense. Like something about, there's eagles and, they pick up elephants, right? And they fly in the sky and they drop them, right? I mean, he mentions that. And so many other things. Timangela fish, they swallow the well, or what is it? Yeah, eagles that could fly interplanetary. So many things that... And then one time he was mentioning something like this in a talk. And then somebody raised their hand. And it may have been a disciple, may have not been a disciple, but whatever the case, they raised their hand. I believe it was a disciple. And they said, oh, Srila Prabhupada, how is this, making sense and this, and how is this possible? And then Prabhupada looked at him very seriously and in a very intense way. He said, what do you know? He said, you just came out of your mother's womb. So, in other words, he's making the point, what do you know? You just came out. When you just come out of your mother's womb, that means you're a baby. You just came out of her body. You don't know anything besides how to, eat, and you hardly know how to do that, right? Pass stool and cry. You don't know how to do anything. You don't know anything. And if you're left there, you actually die. That's how much you don't know how to do anything. So similarly within spiritual life, I mean, people, that was Prabhupada's, you could say, we could see that in that way, that was Prabhupada's point, that he was telling this person, what do you know? You just came out of your mother's womb. You are a child. So how can you understand all these things? So the problem that this whole guru, you could say, topic brings up is that people, they have faith not in their guru, not in the principle of guru, not in devotees, not in Krishna. They have faith in themselves, and specifically in their intelligence, because their intelligence is supreme. So they think. Where everybody else thinks they're fools, which is true. So they have faith in their intelligence, and therefore they think they know what guru means. They think they know what a guru is. And therefore they're very quick to reject, oh, this isn't a guru. Although I accept him as my guru, some years ago. I took Diksha from him. He gave me the holy name of Krishna. But he's not a guru. Why? Because, so many issues, right? So many problems they see. Which a lot of times are just hallucinations from the so-called disciple's mind. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, when I was hearing that Tamal Krishna Goswami said he got initiated with a few devotees, first initiation, and then one devotee he said he never saw again at the temple. He just gone. And imagine you get initiated with somebody, and they're coming to the temple, a bhakta coming to the temple, and then the guru comes and he initiates you, and then he's just gone, he stops coming. That's what happened. So Prabhupada actually, somebody brought this up to him, that, this person came and you initiated him, this and that, whether it's that person or another person, and then Prabhupada said, he was never my disciple. He actually never really accepted initiation. So of course one may at a particular time in their life accept a guru, and then later, due to false ego, due to so many things, they reject the guru. But whatever the case is, this whole topic presents a really challenging problem for people a lot of the times. Prabhupada tells, or Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur tells the story of a man. He's trying to get to his in-laws' house in India, and he hears a flute, and then there's a cowherd boy there with a bunch of cows, and then And then the man, he's blind, by the way. The man's blind, and he tells the cowherd boy, "Can you help me get to my in-laws' house?" And the cowherd boy says, "Oh, I have to take care of the cows. I can't really help you, but here, take one of these cows, and they'll bring you there." So then this blind man, he's holding on to the cow's tail, and the cow's dragging him through the forest and through thorns, and then he gets to the house. And he is completely, bloody, and all of his clothes were ripped. And then the servants of the house, they go out and they say, "Oh, this is a cow thief," and they actually start beating him, But they don't know that he's the family member of the in-laws, so they start beating him. So, and then that's the end of the story. So he says the moral of the story is that that there's two, you could say, ways of seeing. And one is seen as that one who accepts a guru who's not bona fide, that's what happens to him. It's like they're being led by a cow, throughout the forest and thorns, and they suffer because they don't have a real guru. But another way it's explained is that one who, I'm just trying to remember. One who rejects the guidance of a guru. They accept guidance, but they accept their own self, or as you could say, their own mind as guidance, and that is considered to be like accepting guidance from like a cow, unintelligent, like an animal, because accepting guidance from the uncontrolled mind. So that's the point, that people may reject a spiritual master, but on what basis are they doing it? Srila Prabhupada, he was in Bombay, and he got a call from the Kolkata temple, and it was the temple president, and he was saying that one of the temple residents were smoking ganja. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami was talking with the temple president in Calcutta. So then Prabhupada was right there, and Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna Goswami, tell him that if he doesn't stop smoking ganja, I'm going to reject him. So then Tamal Krishna Goswami told the temple president, and then he hung up the phone, And then Tamal Krishna Goswami was wondering in his mind, oh my God, that's like really heavy, like Prabhupada's going to reject him, So then Tamal Krishna Goswami asked Prabhupada, so Prabhupada, would you really reject him? I mean, like that's, And then Prabhupada said, no, I wouldn't reject him. He said, the mercy of Lord Nityananda is unlimited. So the guru, the bona fide spiritual master, he actually doesn't reject the disciples. But again, the disciples sometimes want to reject the guru. And of course there's out and out rejection, and there's rejection to different degrees, right? Not following the orders and so on. So yeah, my point is we have to be careful, because we are living in a world that is where a lot of people are faithless, especially in America. A lot of people are faithless. I mean, of course, other places too, but and if we let, you could say, that illusory Maya to eat at us, then we will also become faithless. And a disease starts out small, and then it grows. That's why Chanaka Pandit, you know what Chanaka Pandit says? He says there's 3 things you have to take care of immediately. You know what those are, Zach? You want to? Debt, fire, and disease. And why is that? Yeah. They'll all increase. So fire, if you just leave it there, it's going to increase. It's going to burn the house down.
What about
or the temple, or the whole town, or Paradise Hill, or so many houses, right? Thousands of houses. And a debt, if you leave it there, it just doesn't stay there. It increases. You know, the debt goes interest. You know, $1,000, just like a ticket, right? Parking ticket. Some we have experience sometimes with that. Parking ticket. It's $60 originally. You have a date. You have a due date to pay it. If you don't pay it by that time, it goes up. You know, $80, and then $100, and then it goes up debt. And then disease also, like cancer, right? You go to the doctor, they tell you, oh, you got cancer, cut it out. But if you don't let it sit there, then it just spreads throughout the body, and then, you know. So disease starts small. So this idea of becoming faithless, it starts small. This idea of rejecting Krishna consciousness, it starts small. So yeah, people, they don't have faith in devotees, right? They become critical towards devotees. That's how it starts. That's how the small disease starts. And then from that point, they start criticizing their Shiksha guru, right? Shiksha gurus. Because we got the general devotees, right? They're easy to criticize, you know, fault find and criticize, right? And then from there the disease starts, and then it goes to one Shiksha gurus, right? Starts. And then from one Shiksha guru it goes to one's Diksha guru, right? It's going up, right? And then from one's Diksha guru it goes to Prabhupada. Start finding faults with Prabhupada. What he says, what he doesn't say, what he did, what he didn't do. And then from there it goes straight up to Krishna. Start finding faults in Krishna, the process of Krishna consciousness, and then just rejection. You reject the process. So I'm saying this because we're on the, you know, it mentions the spiritual master in the purport, and I mean, within the last few years, I mean, I saw so many devotees have these issues with faith and their guru and so many problems. I mean, a big list of devotees. It's actually quite depressing, to be quite honest. So we have to be careful that we don't fall into this trap. And we do that by somehow or other, we have to somehow or other, when the time comes to chant our japa, or engage in kirtan, or engage in our services, it is somehow or other pull our minds to those activities and muster up as much enthusiasm and energy as we can to do those things. And by doing those things with that energy, we get a taste. We get some type of attraction. And from that attraction, that will protect us from all of these things. So we have to, you know, develop some, you could say, some protective forces that will protect us. Krishna will protect us. That param drishtva navartate, right? Vishya vinivartante nirahasidena rasavarjam rasopesa param drishtva. So the soul is, you know, still attached to sense gratification, right? That attraction still lingers. By experiencing a higher taste, he's fixing consciousness. So it means that one could become fixed, at least to some degree, in Krishna consciousness, in their spiritual life, by engaging in these activities and developing higher taste. Or else, no higher taste, you know, we slack off on these, and no higher taste, and then immediately the mind goes off into all these different things. So yeah, we have to try to protect ourselves, and when the time comes for chanting and reading and so many other things, we take those. And then we will not fall into this horrible, terrible, nightmarish trap of rejecting Krishna and Guru. And I mean, even if you don't agree with Prabhupada, some people don't on certain points, even devotees, at least be respectful. I mean, you don't argue, you don't, you know, post everything on Facebook and everything, oh, Prabhupada's, you know, this and that, and just be respectful, keep it to yourself, you know. The person who brought Krishna consciousness to America, who gave you so much, and then you're just like you know it so much, hardly follow the four regular principles, hardly chant your rounds, and you know so much. So, yeah, we don't want to fall into this trap. So we have to be very, very careful, and always try to be in the mood of service, and also take association of devotees who are more advanced. Someone was telling me the other day about that point. Anyways, this idea that sometimes people think that no one else is more advanced. Anyways, that'll be difficult if we think like that. But we want to take association of those who are more advanced, and when the time comes, we should do that, because that's how we'll go back to Godhead. Therefore, India, trips to India. We go on big yatras with, Bhakti Chaitanya Swami and, whatever, Vaisheshika Prabhu and so many other wonderful devotees. We take that. It's very important. In so many other ways, Prabhupada's books, lectures, we have to take this association. Or else we just become another face in the crowd, another face in the cycle of samsara. To take many more faces, mundane faces. So yes, by pleasing the spiritual master, one attains all perfection. By engaging in Krishna consciousness under the guidance of the Guru, one attains all perfection. And this is what Dhruva Maharaj did so nicely. He followed Narada Muni, and all perfection was there. He saw Krishna face to face with Vishnu. So does anyone have any questions, or yes? Yeah, we need that microphone, or else devotees are going to be upset with us.
Listening recently to a lecture on discussion. Someone was asking some questions. Kind of asking questions about this one person who, in his books and his writings, slightly, or more or less criticizes, not super heavily.
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada disagrees with Prabhupada, more or less criticizes with Prabhupada, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, even though his first contact with Krishna consciousness was either Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur or the books of Bhaktisiddhanta. I'm not sure if he became a disciple, but so he was criticizing him, and then one devotee was asking the speaker, he was saying, oh, I've been reading the books of this person, and I've been, finding quite a lot of benefit, and they're devotee in ISKCON. And the speaker was saying, well, I don't know if you know, but this person, has been criticizing in his books, criticizes Prabhupada in many places, disagrees with his philosophical concepts, clearly deviates from what Prabhupada teaches. And the devotee, was kind of astounded. And he made a point, and I wonder maybe you know where this is stated. I think he was saying it was somewhere in one of Jiva Goswami's writings, that someone who criticizes or disagrees with the orders of the spiritual master shouldn't be heard from. But sometimes that point's not understood, and then, devotees will go to this Swami and that Swami, not in our particular sampradaya or movement, or if they're offensive, and they'll hear from them, or he says this which I find interesting, or just reading this book from this devotee. But I believe it was Jiva Goswami states in one of his literatures. Yeah, but that concept that one who disagrees with or directly criticizes spiritual master shouldn't be heard from.
Yeah, people, I guess if you think about all this too much, you might have a heart attack or something, because it's so, you might have a mental breakdown. It's so disturbing, actually, how just lack of common sense people could really have. I mean, like Prabhupada would say that something. He'd say, oh, Krishna consciousness is common sense. So it said that. So, yeah, people aren't. Bhajanarayan Swami, I think he quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that. No, actually, he quotes Prabhupada. Prabhupada in a letter, he's addressing devotees how to take care of Tulsi. So there's all these different things, you know. And then he said, he answers like 20 questions, something like that. And then at the end he says, and a lot more has to do with, you know, common sense. And he said, if you don't have any common sense, you ask somebody who does. Or I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, oh, common sense is not so common, you know, in this world. So, yeah. You have to be careful from who we hear from, yeah.
I made this point before, but it's worth making again. Going back to the old days, I think 73, 74 is worthy of the old days. Not super old, but they're old. And the movement was a lot different there than, of course, in many ways. In the main ways, Prabhu was on the planet. He was actively preaching. He was going everywhere. But also, the devotees who lived in the temple, and in those days, maybe, you know, to be part of ISKCON meant you moved in, you know. But you know, there were increasing number of devotees. There was one point in 69 to 72 when the movement really grew by leaps and bounds in America and outside America. So it was like a closed system. There wasn't all of this availability. You know, on the internet, everything is available. To Facebook, you know, you can associate just by, you know, 2 clicks of a thing. Whereas in the old days, if you really, you know, you had to be really determined. You had to leave the temple,
Yeah.
and you had to go out. So it's hazardous because it's available now. If you want to read so-and-so, you just Google them, and there you are. You're reading so-and-so, Babaji Maharaj, and this and that, and this, right? And many times it's nectar. You know, a lot of it is based on the same books we're reading, and he's speaking nicely, and, you know, like that. But inevitably, if you get into that, and you know, we had a period when that was happening very widely, you're going to hear things that are different from what Prabhupada said. You know, and it may not be, you know, Guru Tattva. It may just be falling from the spiritual world. You know, and it doesn't start. You know, it doesn't start out that, oh, I'm rejecting. You know, it just starts that I'm opening my
spanning the horizons.
Yeah, horizons. But you hear things that are contradictory to what Prabhupada said, and then you have to make a decision in your mind. Well, am I going to believe this, or am I going to believe what Prabhupada said? And when you're associating with those who are all enthusiastic about this, and, you know, and it makes perfect sense, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this and everything, it's very hard to keep your bearings and keep that same kind of one-pointed faith in Prabhupada. And this has been my experience, and that's how people who, you know, were very highly regarded in the movement, they went off and they got involved in that, you know. And what happens is that those who are not so philosophically astute, and, you know, the massive devotees, you know, simply serving very humbly, they get confused. You get confused in all of this wrangling and things going on, senior devotees going here doing that. And this is the real damage that takes place to the movement. That one-pointed faith in Prabhupada's words and what he emphasized in preaching, his preaching mode and you know, book distribution, rather than going off and living in Vrindavan for 6 months or a year or 10 years, you know. So that's what I've seen as the real way in which this becomes manifest. Of course, there's, you know, the really crazies who just get really bad association, become arch enemies, you know. It's rare, but that's the most horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess we ourselves could be careful, you know, like I was saying. But also, as Srivada Prabhu was mentioning, that to be careful not to associate with certain people. And, you know, to, what is it called, err on the side of, I don't know, caution. Yeah, err on the side of caution means, you know, to associate with even devotees. You know, I'm talking about devotees, you know, certain things, you know, intimately about, you know, certain topics and so on. So, yeah. Yes, Damodar Kumar, last question. You want to pass that mic, Zach? Last question. Because of the time factor? Or comment?
Comment.
Sure.
Yeah, just regarding what you're saying about the tendency to find fault. You know, it's amazing how like the tendency of the conditioned soul. It's natural to criticize, to find fault, and then but it's really like one's own mind, right?
Yeah.
As Prabhu was explaining to me yesterday. And it's, you know, just reflecting on this sometimes, but like even if there is some fault within like the institution, because, you know, we're a growing movement. We're actually quite young, 50 years. And then even if the devotees, if there's some, which may be there, may not be there, but certain devotees, who knows, it's really difficult to find fault with Srila Prabhupada. You can't. I mean, if anybody who's rational, anyone who can have some sense, like it's impossible, really, you know. And so, like, if we establish and understand that it's Srila Prabhupada who's like the essence, and who's giving all of us faith in the process, who's given us the process, then that's like the underlying sustaining factor that will maintain our Krishna consciousness. And of course, and from that we should have faith in all of his followers who are now serving and are qualified to serve as Diksha Gurus, Shiksha Gurus. And then another point was that, you know, you mentioned that it could be quite depressing, you know, seeing devotees come and go or inactive in service. But it's I also think that it's important that if such a case does exist, then for whatever existing devotees, if they're strong, they should be trying to help, you know, reaching out.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of times it's just like the mind. We all kind of get mental sometimes here and there. So we got to create systems where every devotee feels protected.
Yeah. All right, so I'll just end on one last note, because this is more of a positive note. It said that Prabhupada, he woke up, you know, from, listen to Malkishka Goswami lecture, he said he woke up from a dream, Prabhupada woke up from a sleep, and then Prabhupada said he had a dream. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami there, and Prabhupada explained what his dream was. So Prabhupada said he was dreaming that there was a big Harinam party going, chanting, you know. And then that all the non-chanters became chanters, you know, so they started chanting. So then that was the dream, you know. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami asked Prabhupada, so Prabhupada, did any of the chanters become non-chanters? And then Prabhupada said, he said, no. He said, how can that be? He said, their names are already written on going back to Godhead, you know. So it's just a matter of time, you know, it takes a little time sometimes to actually, you know, so that's a positive note. So, all right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.